Anyone who has hung around this channel long enough knows I've never been a fan of the EOS camera interfaces. I understand the logic behind them, but really don't care for the layout and design philosophy. That said, the EOS R7, being the first RF camera I used, had a lot to do to make me like it. And I did. In the RF cameras, Canon used many interface elements that make the cameras feel more like cameras and less like puzzle boxes. The screens, dials, and buttons on the RF cameras, writ large, work well and convey a sense of camera-ness to the photographer. The R7 takes this aesthetic and, through streamlined simplicity, dials up the interface quality to 11. Yeah, the R7 is an awesome camera to use. You probably didn't hear that here first, but you did just hear it here, and from someone who has not truly liked using a Canon camera since the A1. What the R7 gets right is that it strips out terrible interface design like button combinations and the tendency in the entry-level camera tier to reduce usable interface elements in exchange for stuff buried within menus. The R7 keeps interface items on the camera that allow direct control, so it feels like a camera designed for photographers, by photographers. And more than that, it has the feel of a classic flagship camera with core functions available to the photographer on the fly. This is a camera that begs to be used and is a joy to shoot with. Moving beyond the outward buttons, the R7's 24-megapixel aps-c sensor delivers good images with decent color. It's not a top-tier sensor, but for the vast majority of people, it will work well, it will deliver images that far exceed expectations, and it certainly outperforms cell phones. The sensor includes a protective shutter that did quite well, by the way, at keeping sensor dust off of the one that I had for a handful of weeks. That Canon included a protective shutter on an entry-level camera says, to me, that they have made a decision to provide photographers across the camera purchasing range with exceptionally useful feature sets that set up the cameras to deliver good images. The R7 brings a lot of features to the entry-level tier that, even 3 and especially 5 years ago, would have been hard to find on flagship cameras. The R7's articulating screen is one of this camera's features that cannot be oversold. For me, the R7 is probably the best mirrorless camera on the market today for photographers looking to improve their photography coming from a cell phone background. Why? If you close the screen and don't look at your images until you get home, mistakes will be good teachers. Well, but why is that any different from any other camera with a similar screen? The R7 has no secondary external LCD, only the viewfinder and some buttons and dials that may or may not tell you if your settings are correct. The R7, if you let it, will allow you to make mistakes so that you can learn to be a better photographer with it. And more importantly, the R7 feels like using a really fantastic vintage camera in terms of the amount of information that it gives you. I think that's pretty high praise. The R7 can hold your hand, and it can do everything for you, or with a couple of settings and changes and a flip of the screen, you can make it your toughest teacher. I, of course, am gonna suggest the latter. No one has ever learned photography because their mistakes were prevented. The R7, if a camera can want something, wants you to be a better photographer and wants to be the camera to take you there. Let it. In terms of affordable entries into the realm of learning cameras, the R7 is one of the top choices right now.